So welcome back to another special episode of Versus DecoyNoise. We got Decaf. We're going to do another episode of Am I the Antagonist with Am I the Antagonist for wanting to do a World War I reenactments / roleplay as a black man? So like I said, it's another special episode of Versus where we got me, the Decoy, going up against Decaf. We're going to kind of debate the topic and just kind of do the same thing we normally do. And also make sure you guys are subscribed down below with the notifications on so you can be reminded every day at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time to just unwind, relax, watch me argue with this other guy over here about what we should and shouldn't be doing. So let's just go ahead and get into the post right now. So OP writes, I've always been interested in military history, especially World War I and World War II. It's been a fascination since my early childhood playing those really old Battlefield and Call of Duty games. I collect a bunch of World War I stuff, from British uniforms, gas masks, all the way to Imperial German flags. It's just something I guess most people, especially a black kid, wouldn't be into. Like me, my best friend also collects military items. He mostly has World War II, German and Soviet Cold War items, but he bought a German World War I uniform so he could match up with me. We've never had problems. We would show off some of our things in history class in high school, so no one really connected anything racial. Until we decided to join a club near us that does World War I / World War II / Vietnam War reenactments. You gotta have a close to the authentic uniform and a gun that the faction would have used in that era. Done. We decided to do World War I reenactments. Everyone was nice, but one guy had a problem. He was an older guy, around 55 plus. He told us our uniforms were looking great, but he had a problem with me. He says, I will say the uniform is spot on than others here, more spot on than others here, but not to be mean, black people didn't really serve in World War I. I'm not putting anything against you, it's just that black people never did well in the battlefield. And then they said, I wasn't even mad, just disappointed, so I said, the Harlem Hellfighters were pretty notable in World War I. They worked under the French and took out German trenches barehanded or with a knife. Pretty famous black soldiers, man. Don't forget the 350,000 others on the front. And then he just scoffs and says, well, that was later in the war. This reenactment was early in the war, so you don't fit. I recommend coming back some other time so nobody gets uncomfortable with someone like you around. He walked away after that. So, people around us were pretty disgusted. He ended up getting banned after that, the day after people reported him enough, which resulted in him trying to get his friends to heckle me. Kinda nice hearing there's the N-word on the battlefield. They all hated me, and they tried everything to get me banned. Nothing worked, but a huge part of the organization was sick of it, so I got a lot of heat from everyone. Some felt as if we were just ruining the reenactments for everyone. I ended up leaving the organization, planning on joining a new one at this point, so am I the antagonist? So like what we normally do is we'll take this away to Decoy Court, I'll give you my knee-jerk reactions, then we're going to give it some Decaf defense to see what the other side of the story is, or just his opinion on it. So we just kind of jump into it right now. So the one thing I will say is I try to say everything from everybody's perspective on the situation, like defend the indefensible type of situation. So I do understand that, there is like whitewashing in media. So like if you think about like, the movie 21 was about like 4 Asian geniuses that mathematically beat the billion-dollar system that is Vegas. And then they got recast as white people. And like there was just like a couple idiot Asians in the background. Dragon Ball Z, Ghost in the Shell, Old Boy, all like, they turned them white. And then as time has gone on, we've done like the reverse whitewashing with like Stephen King's The Dark Tower with Idris Elba. You had Nick Fury in the Avengers, I don't know, Michael B. Jordan is Human Torch. So like that does happen. So it's like I can see why they'd get frustrated with like the inverse, but at the end of the day, like none of that stuff matters. Like whether it's watching like a giant green buff dude punching a flying alligator from space or a bunch of retirees throwing back beers playing make-believe war in their backyard, like throw the real world out of the window. Like we're just having fun. Doesn't mean that like your more accurate fun is better than my fun. Your replica lightsaber is more authentic to the 1984 movie. Shut up. Like I don't care. It's like these guys need to really think about like, hey, are we making a cosplay hangout where we're just hanging out and having fun, or are we just running this racially inclusive group? Like I'm sorry, none of you were in World War I. You're all pretending, so it doesn't matter if he's whatever, not the same as you. It's like something, make these things so you guys can come together and enjoy a hobby, not make it as an opportunity for you to hate on a particular group you don't like. Like, kudos to OP for doing something he loves in the capacity that people before him couldn't have. I mean, I guess I can say, like, even well-meaning nice people will put you in a box where you can't enjoy something as somebody else will. Like, I don't know, did you watch Walking Dead, Decaf?
A little bit.
So it's like,
I didn't get super into it, but yeah.
but that's the thing is when Walking Dead was a big popular thing, I just remember seeing like, you know, I was seeing somebody white and all my friends were like, oh, herder, you guys should dress up as Glenn and Maggie. Or like, you know, it's like, wait, why is that an automatic thing? It's like, and if when I wanted to be Iron Man, they're like, oh crap, it's Asian Tony Stark. Or if I had like a Jedi robe and a lightsaber, like, oh cool, it's an Asian Jedi. Like, what? Why? So
even us.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's like I'm what if you, it's like if you haven't, if you miss watching Rush Hour, check out the podcast Rush Hour that is Decaf. Yep. No, but that's the thing is like, in the same sense, I'm free to interpret anything the way I want. Iron Man, Asian Iron Man, whatever it is. I think other people should be free to judge me however they see me. If other people's perception of me measures like how I can enjoy my free time, then I'm not living right. Like, whatever, have fun. I'm saying not the antagonist because he's just doing his thing. Like, if they have a problem with him being in World War I, then I have a problem with them doing cosplay of World War I because nobody was there. Shut up. Get over it. But I mean, like I said, that was Decoy Court. Let's take it to the Decaf defense, a brand new section where Decaf gets to defend some white supremacists about their no, I'm kidding. No. But it's okay. So, like, what is your knee-jerk reaction as to what's going on there?
It's a tough position. Like you said, it's pretty cool that he has a hobby and that he has or at least had a way to play that hobby and do like the reenactments and things like that.
Yeah,
it's just weird because you know, you said I thought when you were reading it at first, I heard in my head you said World War One, and I heard in my head Civil War, and I was like, oh, we're getting on some, that's a whole different issue here.
They brought him in for a whole other reason. No.
But I mean, I'm not the hugest historian, but if we're just doing like the dates and times, it's safe to assume that the majority, if not all, of the black soldiers from America would have been there with not upon their own will, I suppose, not of their own volition. They're kind of told to go there. So at that point in time, we were kind of property. So you sent your property out to war. So I don't quite understand why that guy would say that he wasn't there, because I'd be like, no, more than likely he was there, or at least his ancestors, so to speak, would have been there. Just not because they wanted to be there. Now the question of whether they were officers or not is a whole nother question. I doubt that they would be have ranks and stuff like that. Again, I'm not a historian. I don't know. I don't really care about that kind of stuff. But long story short, at the end of the day, it does sound like, he didn't say, but it does sound like this is like a Southern type of thing, where they do war and reenactments and stuff like that.
Yeah, you just think of that.
And there's a lot of negative racial undertones that are still there. That hasn't changed in America. I doubt that it will anytime soon.
Yeah.
So he did. It's funny because when he said like, oh, it's pretty cool hearing like there's the N-word, and like, I heard his voice when you read that, because I'm like, I know Dave a lot Chappelle of people who are so, it's just so like people, you know, black people a lot of times are kind of used to those, you know, negative stereotypes and things like that, and used to being heckled, so to speak, and called the N-word and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like he was like offended. He was just like, yeah, it's just, that's how it is. And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is what it is. And that's what's really unfortunate out of the whole story. But
that he was just so commonplace,
obviously. Yeah, like it was just so like, yeah, of course this is what happens.
Yeah, of course this was
so not the antagonist.
Yeah. I mean,
do what you want to do. If you want to, you know, if you want to play Tony Stark, play Tony Stark. If you want to play a war general in the 1500s or whatever, I don't know, have at it. Who cares?
Yeah, like, who gets to draw the line on the fantasy? Like, this didn't happen, but I'm better at it not happening than you're not happening. So you're gonna go ahead and say not the antagonist?
Yeah.
So not the antagonist, not the antagonist from me, Decoy, not the antagonist in the Decoy Decaf defense, but also earn yourself that Decoy coin by giving me your feedback down below. Take a short break before we get to those top comments and we give you some more feedback on it. But I mean, let's just go ahead and get to that top comment right now. So the top reply says, not the antagonist. Not only are you not the antagonist, this guy is historically and factually incorrect. There were, without a doubt, black soldiers in World War I, even in the early parts, and World War II, and Vietnam, and pretty much every other war. Edit, black soldiers from the United States States entered combat in 1917. I need to use a different voice for this. In the same year in the U.S., Joe even joined the war. Not to mention the African subjects forced to fight in the war by their European colonizers from the very beginning of the war. The longer I think about it, the more big of a moron this guy becomes. Also, edit part 2. Also, he was just going to go like, ignore the naval battles of World War I? There would have been black soldiers in the Royal Navy since at least the War of 1812, though there were accounts of black men sharing their stories from even earlier service, despite their ship's logs not accurately displaying their names / no paper records of their service even existing. There were even 14 black female yeomen who enlisted in the U.S. Navy during World War I. I am so mad I'm still in this post an hour later. Okay, I'm done. I've fallen into the rabbit hole of black service people in the early wars. I'm so mad this guy's such a racist douche. In a part 3, last one, I promise to be perfectly clear, the guy would have been an antagonist no matter what, even if there wasn't a singular black soldier involved in World War I. Reenacting is for everyone who takes an interest. Full stop. My emphasis on the historical inaccuracy is because a lot of history buffs like to gloss over the involvement of minorities to fit their own narratives. This contributes to the widespread misattribution of accomplishments, heroic sacrifices, and general badassery minorities have always contributed to history. Nothing makes my blood boil like the people not being able to access, remember, or celebrate their own histories because of BS like that. So I like that they kind of took us to school saying, hey, he's factually incorrect. He's just, I'm sorry to say, he's probably a racist. That guy's probably just a racist for saying, you know, we don't want your kind here because this is inclusive. Like he had himself a nice, like little, I don't want to call it a clan meeting, but a nice little meeting of just those people, and then it was like, you know, under the veil of something else, and all of a sudden it's like, well, didn't you know that was implied? That was what this is. Like, we said World War I reenactments, but we really meant something very specific later on. So I mean,
yeah,
but that was cool that they broke it down. They learned something. I feel like
and you know, that was my assumption too. Like I said, I'm not a huge history buff, but I was like, I'm pretty sure they were there, just not of their own volition. I mean, why would I go to war when I can send my property to war? That makes a lot more sense. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it really makes sense in that facet. But I mean, just the idea that it's like, now that we've taught you something, maybe if you donate to DecoyNoise, it's a charitable contribution because we're an educational facility now. Do I get to be DecoyNoise.edu now? I mean, I feel like I can spin it that way, right?
You got to get the banner. The more you know.
I can't afford that. My computer is insanely overheated right now. I can feel the heat like I'm emitting from my laptop because it's doing too many windows at once. But let's go ahead and read the next.
Yeah, wires coming out of the freezer.
Yeah, the next top comment. So they wrote, not the antagonist. He's just a racist bigot. There were black soldiers, just a minority, so it's not unrealistic. Also, you said that they were successful under the French and did very well. You could have said he was too old to fight anyway, as most people were young. To be in the army in 55 would be very rare, as I think the oldest age was 40 that was permitted. He's a hypocrite too. I hope you enjoy the hobby despite people like this. Which is probably true. Like, just the idea he should, like, you know, it would have served him no good to stoop down to his level saying, hey, look, I'm black, but you're 55, so neither of us would have been here, so let's just play the game. Like, I think it would have been going back and forth. It would have become just a fight, and then, I mean, at that point in time, are we really getting the message across to each other? Likely not.
No.
Yeah.
Not his purpose.
Yeah, so, okay, one reply to that comment was, everyone is saying the other guy is wrong that there weren't black soldiers in World War I, but that's missing the point in my opinion. Even if they were reenacting a war with only white people, OP should still be able to participate. And that's one of those things where it's just like, so I wonder what would happen if I showed up, because I feel like a lot of the time they want to be racist towards like blacks, but then if I showed up, they'd be like, oh, okay. You pass or whatever. Like, you know, just how deep was this guy's racism rooted? I mean... It's a hard, very subjective thing. But like I say, top comments are for perspective, controversial comments are for fun, and I just want to see if maybe we can get that guy. Maybe he's 55 plus, and he also browses Reddit, so he can come out here and argue with us. But like I said, my computer is just insanely overheated, and it's not wanting me to click this controversial button, because maybe it's just protecting me from some terrible comments, but it looks like it's going to be
real bad stuff.
Some real bad stuff. It's about to get real there. So, okay, we got a guy, top controversial comment, saying, I need more information. Can we get some more information? It's really hard to say who's the antagonist here. Way too much of a gray area if I'm being honest. So he says, I stopped a guy from murdering 2 kids, but now the attempted murderer is mad at me. Am I the antagonist? Reddit, I'm so conflicted. Wait, what?
What is happening?
I think this is a case of lost Redditors where he just doesn't know where he was, because that's not the reply to that post right there. Just not... Okay, so the next controversial reply was, absolutely 100% not the antagonist. As black people, we have every right to exist in these spaces. F that guy, which is true, but this guy got negative votes. How do you get negative votes for saying that, hey, look, we have the right to cosplay with you? Like, what?
Maybe the F that guy. Maybe that got him some. Maybe some PG-13 warriors were on there. I don't know.
Which is true, but I mean, so many people curse each other out. That's one thing that I'll say about like this subreddit is it just becomes a very becomes a hive mind of like whoever gets there becomes that echo chamber, and all of a sudden that's all you can hear is that first person saying the thing. And if someone says something, even agreeing with them, but not in the same way, they get downvoted to hell because they just don't want to hear it. Like, no, I can't, no. So the next top controversial comment says, not the antagonist, like ×7. It said, even if every last soldier in every single battle was white as a polish, button overcast weather, and had his hair as white as the mane of my gran, and had eyes of the aquamarine as this guy's balls, well, that wouldn't matter 1/1000th of a bit. A reenactment is about the love for history, and if this very bad word really cared about this, no offense, a dying hobby, he would be over the moon to have another passionate man, assuming here, because I forgot whether you mentioned it or not, on the team. Like others had mentioned, racist and bully, at least in my opinion, insert change my mind template. Fair play for you for not giving up, dude. Good luck. So it's one of those situations where you have a good message wrapped up in just poor grammar and bad, like, just, it's just a weird way to put it. And the one thing is, though, is, I was saying earlier in my podcast where I would be like, okay, look, I'm not going to take advice from a guy with bad grammar that doesn't know how to spell anything, so automatically fruit of the poisonous tree, I throw that out. But then somebody had a good comment on the Decoy Court saying, hey, you don't know if that's the guy's like 7th or 8th language, and then he just has bad grammar, but he has a good message, like he's very wise, so I won't automatically assume this person's just illiterate and doesn't know what they're doing. But I mean, the message they're saying is in the right place, I guess. Like, it's good, right? It's just not worded well. So we're gonna go over one last controversial comment, which is a downvoted one. Says, everyone sucks here. That guy because he was being racist, and you because you know you weren't an antagonist and decided to post this thread anyway. He got up 125 points. It's one thing is those am I the antagonist is a lot of people. So what you have is the majority of people posting on am I the antagonist are people that know they're the good guy. They just want to kind of do that humble brag, self-gloat, like, hey, look, I saved a kid, I saved a baby and 5 kittens from a burning building. Am I the antagonist? Like, I just want you, can you pat me on the shoulder? But then you also have the people that are just genuinely, I don't want to say idiots, but just genuinely people that are so self-absorbed, but they can't, like, hey man, I divorced my wife and orphaned my 3 children. Am I the antagonist? But it was my heart was in the play. Like, they just don't know they're wrong. So it's like, we have that nice mixture of just the 2 wins, and then every now and then you have a tortured soul that they're caught in a bad situation. So I mean, I like getting all the different stories, like the good ones, the bad ones. Do you have any like closing thoughts as for the Decaf defense? Like, why would you want to kick out an Asian person from your Jedi reenactment?
Oh, well, I'm definitely kicking that out, but no.
It's like, you're like, no, Tyler, I'll be on your podcast, but you're never joining my Jedi clan. Never. It will never happen.
You can't join the Jedi line.
I won't join the Jedi clan.
No. What would be actually really funny is if this was flipped, and if the guy who was calling him an N-word and all that stuff, if he was saying, am I the antagonist for saying this guy can't be a war?
Okay, so we do want to see everything.
Would be perfect.
No, you do want to see everything for what it is. Like, try to give everybody the different aspects of it. So let's say the one thing we didn't see
his side of the story.
No, the one thing we didn't realize is the History Channel was filming a World War II reenactment. They were filming scenes from something so they can do a history thing. So it's like they probably couldn't use any of the B-roll for what they filmed there if that guy was in the scene, because it's like this particular battle just didn't have any black people. So then he's just dropping that out because maybe this guy's 55 years old, he's been several generations of World War reenactors, and all of a sudden that game, I don't know, it's like there's a video game that just replaced all the Civil War reenactors because it was so realistic. They just used footage from the game instead of them. So maybe this is the last straw. God damn it, I don't have any money left in my pension. I'm gonna lose this job too because you are just not accurate. Maybe, I don't know. I'm really trying to stretch things. I mean, I don't want Decaf to feel left out when he's trying to defend this obvious racist over here. So I mean,
yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
That's what I was trying to do. But like always, if you made it this far in the video, I want to say I appreciate you hanging out with me and Decaf. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments if you prefer the Versus podcast opposed to me just rambling on for 20 minutes. But if any sort, go to DecoyNoise.com. Give me feedback over there. Submit your story if you like. But if nothing else, just hang around, put on the autoplay, and watch the next Decoy Noise coming up next.